Ora. Te whakarongo mai koutou ki Arrow FM, your community access radio station, and this is me back doing RAM. Yep, I know, I've been coming in every day to do my job, but also doing isolation blues. Well, not feeling isolated anymore. Isolation blues is gone, and I'm continuing with RAM, which means you only have to listen to me or watch me, which is even worse, once a week. So it's not all bad, is it? I'm having Becky Bateman coming in later. My guest this morning, as I say, Becky Bateman from Aratoi, and she's going to talk about virtual Aratoi and kind of anything she wants to, really. Aratoi is open to the public again, so that's good. RAM, as you know, is a program where I attempt to tell you what's going on in the Wairarapa. I'm going to take it real easy this morning and basically make it about Aratoi when Becky gets here and music. And when I said that, when Becky gets here, I'm not implying she's late. She's not due until 9:30. Until then, it's just blether and music. What have I got? I've never heard this CD, so who knows what it's like. It's by Cibele. I presume it's Cibele. I don't know if she's Spanish. She might be French, in which case Cibele. And she's live at Las Vegas Resort Palace Hotel, wherever that is. But I just thought, well, it's good to listen to a few things that you've never heard before. And what am I going? Oh yeah, I chose this because I thought it said, because the writing is so fancy you can't read it. I thought it said it's not easy being green. And I thought, well, no, it's not. But, you know, we need a bit more greenitude in our lives. And then I looked more closely, and I think it could... No, I do think it's green. If not, it could be it's not easy being Greek. Only time will tell. That's a bit different, isn't it? I tell you what, I'm no wiser to whether it's called It's Not Easy Being Green or It's Not Easy Being Greek, because I can't read the writing. But I tell you why I'm particularly not any wiser is I don't think that was that track. They're not numbered, you see. But I think that was Sapato Azul. So I dug further inside it to find out if there was any track information, and there's just a great big poster. Well, not that big, but, a poster. And interestingly, it promises me free pizza. Well, I haven't found the pizza. It also says free hair. So that'll be fun. Maybe they'll deliver it. I don't know. Cibele or Cibele, but definitely Spanish, not Greek, because, what does it say? Cibele appears to be Sonia Calicalion y los stroboscopios luminous. So the chances of her being Greek are getting pretty thin. Why? What's happening in our region? I'm sure there's a lot happening. I can tell you what's not happening. In fact, next week I'll present a special feature on what's not happening. But things are starting to get up and running again, which is nice. It's quite busy out there. Part of me hopes it doesn't get too busy, because it's good to return to life as normal, but maybe we should modify what life as normal is. That way we can pollute the atmosphere a little less, run over each other a little less, just generally kind of behave a bit more sustainably, shall we say. All right, I'm going to play another track, because I can feel a cough coming on, and also because that's what we're here for, is to listen to some music. And then we have the pleasure of Becky Bateman's company a little bit later. This is Dengue Fever is the track, and it's the world's premier Cambodian psychedelic rock band. Yeah. And I chose a track that is charmingly entitled The Thousand Fears of a Tarantula. Dengue fever, I like it. Cambodian psychedelia, I guess. Yeah, well, that's what they say, and I agree with them. That was 1,000 Tears of a Tarantula. Might listen to a little bit more of that later. Yep, I do like that, you know. Yes, I do. Talking with Becky Bateman soon. But playing music mostly now. Because it's quite relaxing for me. After 7 weeks of coming in and having all sorts of really interesting guests appear up on the telly screen, dialing in from their homes, it's been great that we've had the ability to connect with people remotely during this time of isolation. But the time of isolation has more or less gone, and so programming is returning pretty much to normal. We're very excited about that because we get to see all our friends, all our program maker friends again. We had Roger and Sarah in yesterday doing Digital Seniors, the Digital Seniors program. That's great because they'd only had one program before all of this happened, and then suddenly a big gap when they couldn't come in. And they came in, it was like they'd never been away. Technically everything was bang on the ball. No trouble whatsoever. I'm hoping everybody can be as seamless as that. Dave, of course, has been coming in on Friday nights. I don't get to see him, but doing Friday Night Blues and 60s Nostalgia. I see that Orca was in on Sunday to do his program, Samoan Community Radio. Sione often accompanies him, not this time. We've had the remote programs from a couple of churches sent to us that, Dan Yazel from Crossway Church has been doing it at home with his wife Monica and on GarageBand. Sends it into me. I clean it up a little bit and then chuck it on the radio. And the Lighthouse Church have also been recording from home and sending that in, and so things have been going not too badly. But as I say, I'm missing people. Want to see them again. That'll happen soon. Also, Becky will be here soon, but I'm gonna give another go at what was it? It's not easy being Greek. I don't think it's that. I do think it's green. I don't know if this will tell us, but let's find out. Here we go.
It's not easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves, when I think it could be nicer being red or yellow or gold, or something much more colorful like that. It's not easy being green. It seems you blend in with so many other ordinary things, and people tend to pass you over, 'cause you're not standing out like flashy sparkles in the water or stars in the sky. But green is the color of spring, and green can be cool and friendly light, and green can be big like an ocean or important like a mountain or tall like a tree.
right, that cleared it up. It's definitely not easy being green. She did me the great favour of singing in English that time and cleared the whole matter up of whether it was about being Greek or green. She's Spanish. If Veronica had been here, she would have been able to clear that up for me earlier, because Veronica's Spanish and German and Spanglish and a whole load of things. I'm going to play another track just because I'm enjoying it so much, and I'm really liking Dinghy Fever. So, Oceans of Venus. What do you reckon? I'll put it on now, and you never know, Becky Bateman might be here when it's over, and we can have a nice little chat. Otherwise, it's just me. Oceans of Venus. More from Dinghy Fever there. Oceans of Venus. Obviously an instrumental, and I have to say I prefer it when the vocalist kicks in, because she's really good. I just wanted to do that in case you thought that the picture had frozen. That's for people who are on watching us on the television. When I say us, I mean me. Just wanted to see what a freeze frame with that would trick you or not. The rest of you on the radio, just a bit of silence. You get that all the time. I'm actually performing for the radio listeners the top hits of Marcel Marceau. Here's another one. Moving on, because you got to do that. I have found a CD of Spanish soul music, Sensacional Soul, and that looks like it could be fun, eh? So I'd like to play for you a track called Conjunto Brillantes, Las Bellas Ilusiones.
Es el azul del cielo, es el calor del sol, son los ecos alegres, de una bella canción, Estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones. En los días tormentosos, con estrellas y con sol. Tras la lluvia y el viento, los almendros en flor, llega la primavera y también el amor. Estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones, estas son las bellas ilusiones. En los días tormentosos, con estrellas y con sol.
Bit of soul from España there. That was Conjunto Brillante with Las Bellas Ilusiones. And that was me doing another one of Marcel Marceau's top hits. Kathy Bateman is at this very moment signing in. Becky, I said Kathy. I tell you what, I've mentioned you umpty million times so far and called you Becky.
Oh.
And when you appear in person...
I look like a Kathy. That's fine. That's fine.
No, I can't even claim that because I don't have my glasses on.
Fair enough.
Lovely to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bit scary, isn't it? I mean, coming out of isolation, there you are, but we've both got...
I know.
A bottle of hand sanitizer.
I don't know about you, but my hands are just feeling so rough after all this sanitising I've been doing recently. It's going to be, need to get some good moisturiser or something.
Yeah. Now, for some reason, the camera's not cutting to you, but so
oh, never mind.
People, it might do that in a while when it goes, what? He's got a guest? How did that happen? Anyway, as I say, great to have you here, and you are here to tell us about what's happening at Aratoi, which is now open to the public, right?
It is, yeah, from the weekend it's open. Hurrah! Which is quite good.
Yep.
Yeah, we opened for the first time at the weekend, so Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, it was actually pretty busy, which was really nice. So that has made us feel a little bit less worried about everything. And yeah, we're going to go ahead with opening a bit more often, which is going to be excellent.
Go ahead with it. Like you mean that it's not exactly business as usual right now?
No, I mean, everything's not quite business as usual anymore, is it? We were open before all this happened, 10 o'clock in the morning till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day. But we've decided that we're only going to open Thursday to Sunday, 10 till 2. And of course, you have all the procedures you need to do to get in as well,
Yeah.
Like everywhere. But we just felt it was really important that Aratoi did open and that people were able to see art and be in a different space. And I think art's really good for your well-being. So it was really important that, we gave people that opportunity to actually come in and, kind of feel like they're away from all the stresses of normal life and just see some beautiful art and kind of feel much better.
I think it is a great way to transition back into life. Although, of course, whether you're transitioning or you're right slap bang in the middle of it, as you say, art is important for us.
It is, and there's been so much research saying that art is so good for your soul and your well-being and your thoughts and just feeling better about the world. And, it's important that people are allowed to kind of have access to it.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast yesterday of some famous art critic and writer who, please don't ask me what his name is because I've forgotten.
Okay.
And he was fascinating to listen to. And one of the things he was saying is something that I kind of believe is that we're all artists of one sort or another. We might not be all good.
That's fair.
But I think we all need to be involved in art, either as spectators, enjoyers of, or practitioners.
And it's really interesting to see how many people started art. Well, it was in lockdown. Did people start picking up paintbrushes and pencils and just doodling or taking photos? Or, there's so many different things that are called art that, I wonder how many people actually did pick it up and think, oh, this is actually really nice. I really quite enjoyed this. And started again.
Yeah, I think a lot of different things have been happening in people's lives during this time. Yeah, including virtual Aratoi.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So during lockdown, we thought, again, it's really important that people kind of have access to art. And because people couldn't come in, we thought, well, we can do this virtually. It's not quite the same. It's never the same, not kind of standing next to a piece of art and going, oh, yes, I can actually see kind of the brushstrokes. But having that kind of online and people can visit any time during the day or night, if the mood takes them, was awesome. And kind of almost kind of keep that community spirit alive as well. So myself, I'm one of the educators, and Kate, our other educator, and Suzanne, obviously director, we kind of made a timetable and we created posts every day or nearly every day about something in our collection. Yeah. We based it around kind of the 50-50 collection, so the one that just happened last year, because there were so many really interesting stories that we could tell, and that some objects didn't get kind of enough spotlight during the time it was in the exhibition, and we have so much stuff in the collection that people have never seen, so we thought it was a really good opportunity to kind of get individual pieces out every day, tell them their stories, and show that Aratoi is a really interesting place to be and got so many vast different things in our collection, and it's been going really well. It's been quite interesting actually, kind of seeing how people have are coming to the website and coming to Facebook and social media and kind of seeing the next story. Yeah. And we've been trying quite carefully to kind of have a really big range, but also link it into kind of lockdown and what's happening right now. So I think one of our most engaging posts was about the huia birds. We've got these beautiful kind of ceramic huia birds and kind of the real ones. But we kind of linked it to how wild animals are starting to kind of come back out into into the world again. Yeah. And like people just went crazy for that. And it's like, actually, this is something they can relate to. But also, you're linking it to a collection item. And yeah, it's been really successful. We've been really enjoying it, actually. It's been really fun to kind of write these posts every day.
And there's a different opportunity. We don't often we go to an art gallery and we experience it alone or with the person that's visiting at the same time. But to get some commentary on the hoof is really good.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And people who may not have normally come to a museum or kind of find museums a bit scary, they've gone, oh, actually, there's some really cool things here, and maybe we'll just stick around and maybe we'll come in when it's open again.
Yeah. It's, what you were saying about it's not quite the same if you can't see the brushstrokes and things. I, as a person who've, not had a background in art history or art appreciation, I do remember when, I'd seen various artworks as reproductions and gone, yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Apparently this Rothko is quite famous. And then I walked into the Tate Modern and I was nearly knocked over by it. To see the real thing is extraordinary.
It's so different, isn't it? You can't ever take that away from you, can you? It's always obviously still in your memory. And I think art can do that, and I think I remember when I was much, much younger than now, I was on a school trip and we, obviously being British, we just hopped over to Paris, hop over. And I remember seeing the water lilies and then in this huge round room, and it's just, everywhere you look, there's just this beautiful, every wall is covered with kind of these water lily pictures by Monet,
yes.
my goodness, it's been a while. And yeah, they're just massive, and you can just see like these water lilies are just huge, and you can just see every brushstroke. But you don't get that on virtual. You can't get that kind of sense of scale. But it does give you that kind of entrance way, doesn't it? It's like, I want to see that in real life, and I will look for that when it's open.
And virtual Aratoi will have been doing that, hopefully generating that kind of hunger to get back in the actual space.
Hopefully. I'm going there this afternoon, actually. I'm quite looking forward to getting back into the gallery again. I really miss it. I really miss being around this art and just... I love being in museums and art galleries anyway. It feels kind of very homely. So I'm looking forward to getting back in this afternoon. Yeah,
as I say, when I was younger, it wasn't something that was part of my life. But those things have stuck with me. I've been in the Rijksmuseum, and as you say, nothing prepares you for the scale. So you go through all these rooms and you go, Van Eyck and these people can paint. There's,
yes.
And you go, they definitely had something going for them. And then you see your first Rembrandt and you go, oh. And it's also theatrically worked out so that you come along and you go, oh, this is different. Yeah. This is great. And then, of course, when you see the Night Watch, which is takes up a whole
it's vast, isn't it?
You walk round a corner and it's at the end of a corridor and you go, and the Rothko thing, it wasn't just that it went into my eyes. I felt physically like I was being sucked into it. It was an extraordinary feeling. Here am I talking about overseas, but honestly, I've had some great experiences at Aratoi, so much so that we've even bought a couple of paintings.
Really?
Yes.
What have you bought?
Helene Carroll.
Oh, isn't she amazing?
Yeah.
I think she's in Israel at the moment, or she's planned to be in Israel to do her alphabet paintings.
Yeah.
They're over there at the moment, which is pretty amazing. They're being kind of toured over there, which is kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
I know. One of us. Yeah. And I've forgotten the name of the artist, which is dreadful, because there we are. She's in our house, and she's at King Street Arts sometimes. Look, forgotten the name right now.
Fair enough.
But I'm, again,
it's
struck
beautiful.
by it and just had to buy it.
Yeah. There are some amazing pictures. I mean, I've been there just over a year now, and just the variety that you have there is just incredible. Like at the moment we've got the Gavin Hipkins, the photography exhibition, and I wasn't really ever into photography before. It was like, well, it's quite nice, but since kind of learning a bit more about the exhibition and kind of what he's done and kind of how clever he's been by where he's positioned things, like you were saying about positioning, I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually really quite clever and quite kind of, you've obviously thought about this. And do you know what I mean though? With kind of photography, you just kind of get, well, it looks like the kind of the spur of the moment, doesn't it? You don't normally kind of think it's
taking a snap. It's there anyway. What have you done, really?
Exactly. but kind of looking around and you're kind of almost doing kind of visual snap with things like that's got the same shape as that one over there, and he's kind of put them together, and you're like, actually they're from different places in the world, like England and New Zealand, but actually they're exactly the same shape. You know, so there's this really clever one of a steam train. So you've kind of got, looking at the front of the steam train, kind of a toy steam train, and you've got the kind of the round bit at the front with this kind of funnel at the top. And next door to that, you've got a church. I think it's a church. Fundraising. You know, those fundraising.
Yeah, a thermometer.
Thermometer, and they're exactly the same shape. And you're like, that is really clever. One's in England, one's in Auckland. That one is from Coventry or wherever in England, but they're exactly the same shape, and he's put them together. And you kind of think that is really quite clever. So all around, you're just playing this kind of visual snap, and the more you look, the more you start to see, like, oh yes, that colour is next to that colour, and that shape is next to that shape. And there's a beautiful one of Stonehenge, and next to this beautiful one of Stonehenge, he's got this pegboard game, but from kind of looking down on it, those. Kind of bird's eye view, and you're like, oh yes, that actually, you can see the link between the two. And so I think I've got a new love, I suppose, of photography just by looking at that exhibition. Just go, oh yeah, it's very clever, Yeah. I mean, you say everyone's an artist. I'm not particularly artistic. I'm more scientific. But I can appreciate kind of how pictures and exhibitions are put together.
Yeah, and you can admire the artistry and things, but there's that extra thing when it has an emotional impact, and you don't know how they did it. And as you say, it could be just a photograph, and there's the way the light works on it, or the way it captures something in you that takes you back, or whatever, and you think, I've no idea how you did that. Don't talk to me about f-stops, because somehow something else. This critic talked about, he said that he really did think that great artists had an extra wrinkle on their frontal lobe or something. There's just something in there that makes them different.
There was another Gavin Hipkins one is it was right at the end, so you're going all the way around and you've got to the end and you're back kind of on this beach, and I was like, I recognise that beach. Why do I recognise that beach? And he's like, oh, that's a beach in England. I was like, whereabouts in England is that beach? And he's like, oh, that's in the southwest. I think it's Beer or somewhere around there. And I was like, I used to go to that beach when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember those pots. I can visualise kind of being on that beach. And I suppose that's what each one of these pictures does, because someone's going to go, I've been there, or I recognise that, or, oh, yes, I've been in those hills, or... and it's that almost connection that's his, tourist, trip. But so many people can kind of link to, oh, I've been there and I've seen that and I remember that. And, oh, yes, I was 40 years ago I went there to Stonehenge or whatever. And, it's the more you look at it, the cleverer it is.
And then there's also stuff that you can't possibly have a link to, and yet it has an effect on you. Like, I've never seen a whale held up by a balloon.
I know what you're talking about.
Ian Chapman's painting is fantastic.
They're incredible, aren't they? They are. I was doing tours with kids last year, feels like last year, whenever it was, and when Ian Chapman's work was up. And it was always the whale with the balloon. They're like, huh? But that always reminds me of Douglas Adams.
Oh, right,
and every time I walk past it, I was like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the whole kind of, the whale falling from the sky.
Yeah, I think so.
When he's been changed into Petunia or whatever. And every time I walk past it, I was like, Douglas Adams. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But it's even like little connections like that, isn't it? That even though probably Ian Chapman never thought, oh, I'm going to make someone think of Douglas Adams every time they walk past that picture, it always does for me. And so I wonder what other kids or other people or anyone else walks past these things kind of goes, oh, that reminds me of, or... oh yes, that shifted something in my brain when I walked past it.
But then you might see something that appears to be a number of stripes of slightly different colours, and it has an emotional effect on you, and there's no explaining it.
Yes, it's strange, isn't it? Art is amazing. It really is amazing. Yeah. It is.
I mean, I do have some Achilles heels when it comes to art.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of... I'm going to sound like a real redneck
Go on, say
here.
it, go on.
There's a lot of art that depends on rather flimsy puns.
Yes.
And I think, look, I could come up with 20 of those in a day, and just sort of chucking them on a canvas doesn't work for me.
Fair enough. It's going to work for somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So I've got my Achilles heel out of my way.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But what a wonderful resource Aratoi is, and
Yeah, I think so.
and it's an art and history museum, and that's a magic combination.
Yes, so I think we merged with the museum in 2010, and yeah, we got these most amazing collections. I mean, I've come from a museum background. I used to work at Wellington Museum and Space Place and that kind of town, and did some work in England in museums. And I just love the fact that everything's so eclectic in museums. You have these collections that people just kind of give to you because there's a story behind it, and you don't necessarily think the story's interesting, but then you start kind of scratching the layers and you kind of dig a bit deeper, and actually the story's really quite amazing because it's that point in time, or there's a particular person, or it shows what the social commentary is like at that time. And so even it could be the most boring article ever
Yeah.
or object, but actually it kind of shows you its place in time, or what was everyone's thinking about that time, or it's just I love being
There's
in
something
museums.
about having historical artifacts or photographs or whatever in the context of what we think of as an art gallery that makes you appreciate it on another level. I actually feel, looking at some of the historical exhibitions you've had there, that I'm also having an artistic experience. And you realise, again, everybody, if they do what they do well, displays a degree of artistry.
Yeah, but I think it's about learning from the past, isn't it, with museums? Like, there's this amazing collection of these beautiful moa bones. And I think these moa bones just kind of sum up perfectly what a museum should be doing. It's displaying something of beauty, of something that was very important in the world, though unfortunately isn't there anymore. But instead of just looking at what they are, we need to kind of think, well, why are they here? They're here because they were hunted to extinction. They were killed in their thousands. I mean, they were all over New Zealand before people came to New Zealand. But now they're not. They're here, and all we've got left are bones. But have we learnt from this? Have we stopped killing animals just for the pure hell of it? No. Last year, I think the common giraffe was now on the endangered list because people are still, killing for no reason whatsoever. And what I really hope I never see is that I see extinct giraffe bones in a museum.
Yeah.
Because that means we haven't learnt from the past. We haven't learnt from our mistakes. We haven't gone, we've killed all these moas. We didn't respect the ecosystem. We didn't respect them. We didn't kind of think about the consequences. We need to kind of learn from the mistakes. We need to think, that's the consequence. This has happened. Let's stop doing this right now, because otherwise we're going to go down the same path again. And I think museums have got a really important job to do in that aspect, that these objects may be beautiful or kind of from a different time, but there's a story of consequence and effect in every single one of them.
Yeah. And I think, obviously in the past, before people had access to that kind of information, then across the world some poachers were getting rid of species. Logging companies were wrecking the environments of another species. But now it's in front of us. We can see it. And also we can see it and experience it in that particular way. It's not just like going on the net and going, they're doing this.
Yes.
You have an emotional experience in these environments.
Every group that Kate and I took through that museum last year, and we showed them these bones, and we said, look, this is happening right now. Things are happening with giraffes and rhinos. Do you want to see this happening to those animals. They're like, no, 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 no. And they all just went away stunned. And yeah, it's a bit kind of, push them into the kind of that way. But it was important for them to actually realise this is still happening and they can make a difference. Especially like with the water exhibition we had as well last summer. That was, again, another very important discussion to have with kids, because they're going to be the ones that are kind of picking up the mess from our generation, from, sorting out the rivers, because it's not going to be, overnight. It's going to take years and years and years. And if we don't get the kids kind of on board and educate them about, well, this is what's happening right now, but we do have a chance to save it. We can stop that consequence, that effect from happening. Then I think that's a really important thing that museums and everywhere around the world can do.
Yep. Hey, I would just like to play another track at the moment. You stay there and enjoy it, because I've been rather enjoying Dingy Fever, which is a Cambodian psychedelic rock band.
Right, I've never heard of it, I have to be fair.
Great, and I really enjoyed 1,000 Fears of a Tarantula. So now
well, that links very nicely into what I was going to talk about next.
Yeah, all right. So, I don't know, let's have Solo Driver. Oh no, Sober Driver.
I should hope everyone is a sober driver.
One would hope.
dull and dull and dry.
There was dengue fever. A little bit more kind of normal than the previous.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
I was expecting psychedelic crazy.
Yeah,
that was
I know.
That was kind of chill.
Yeah. Yeah. But they do psychedelic crazy too. So we've been chatting about virtual Aratoi, but no need to be virtual any longer, or is that continuing?
We are going to continue it. We are going to have some smaller exhibitions over the next couple of months. It's funny because people don't realise that there's actually quite a lot of process to kind of getting exhibitions. There's a lot of time, and you have to spend a lot of time kind of organising and funds and, asking for funding. And so, because a lot of our funding, probably a lot of you don't really realise this, but a lot of our funding comes from funds from like pokie machines, and because no one's been out playing, the pokies,
I know.
there's not so much money going around. So until I think we're okay for the end of the year. We've got a few exhibitions that have kind of obviously disappeared and can't come, or they're coming from other sides of the world and you can't get them over. But we do have a really interesting exhibition about astrophotography coming up. We're going to do that virtually.
Yep.
Because when we organised this, we didn't know if we were going to be in or out of the museum virtually or not, or physically. So the actual exhibition will be going next year, but this year we're going to have some of them virtual on the website. So
Astro being shots of the sky, right?
Yes, that's right. So are
they through telescopes, or are we talking about
some of them? Yes.
Yeah.
So the Wairarapa's got some beautiful skies. They've got some of the darkest skies in the world. We're actually aiming to be the next dark sky reserve here in the Wairarapa. And so I thought it was a really nice opportunity, because I'm a scientist at heart. I'm an astronomer at heart.
Oh, yeah, right.
I have kind of an astrotourism business, kind of after Aratoi.
Astrotourism.
Yes, I do, yes.
Next week we're going to Mars.
Well, you can see Mars at least in the sky. I can at least point it out to you.
Yeah.
Not an astronaut. I don't like heights, funnily enough, so I don't think I could actually go into space.
I think you'd probably be all right, because I don't think you'd perceive height quite the same way.
Wouldn't it just be weird seeing the Earth disappear from view and think, that's all my friends, everything I love, everything I know is on that planet, and now it's just disappeared from view. If you're going to Mars.
Somebody described one of the people who's up in the space station at the moment, during COVID-19, saying the most isolated person.
Yes.
I was going to say on Earth, but no.
Yeah,
the most isolated human.
I wonder what it would have been like looking from the International Space Station down on the Earth. I wonder if, it would have looked different. I wonder if there would be less lights, or... because I know a lot of people have realised around the world that their skies have been clearer, haven't they? And they've said, I've seen mountains for the first time, or I've seen space for the first time. So I think here in the Wairarapa we are so lucky, because we've got such beautiful skies anyway, and such really dark skies. And I hope that people have gone out and had a look at the sky during lockdown, hopefully. And this exhibition is to showcase some of the 6 best kind of amateur photographers, I suppose, in the Wairarapa, or have honed their skills in the Wairarapa. So we've got the amazing Mark G. I don't know if you've heard of Mark G, but he's a fantastic astrophotographer. He's won many awards for his astrophotography.
Good.
He is in Wellington, but he's done a load of beautiful photos out here. In fact, he started his kind of learning, about the night sky here in the Wairarapa. Lots of things at Castle Point and Lake Palliser, and in those really dark spaces, with some kind of, lighthouse or focal point of light. We've also got John Whitby, who he does look through a telescope at his things, but he looks far out into space. And when I said, tarantula, that's a nice link. There's one of the objects is the Tarantula Nebula, which is in the Magellanic Clouds, and that is just a stunning photo, because you're looking at something, 160,000 light years away.
You're looking
just
into
incredible.
the past.
Absolutely. I mean, everything's in the past if you're looking up, but it's just so beautiful, and it looks so wispy and delicate. But actually, this is a really horrible place in the universe. It's a violent and highly dangerous, horrible place to live. But you've kind of got that it looks so beautiful and it looks so kind of wispy and delicate, but actually it's a horrible place to be. So
I think that's
really
very
clever.
androcentric of you, and there might be some kind of sentient being out there goes wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Maybe. Well, it's a star forming area, so it's a pretty violent, hot, nasty place. I mean, we know that things can live in very strange places, so who knows?
And the
Who
essence
knows?
of creation is we've all come from that kind of beginning.
We have. Just it's taken us a few 4.5 billion years to get here. These stars in the Tarantula Nebula are, just being born right now, so they're only a few million years old. So really very young indeed. So
Yeah, but if we're looking at them at the moment, maybe, and we are looking into the past, maybe that was a few
well,
million years ago.
160,000 years isn't very long in the
No,
lifetime
no,
of a
of
star,
course.
so it's
No, of
probably
course it's not.
hasn't really changed a huge amount. So we've kind of got these two very different approaches. We've got some really beautiful, artistic, looking at the Milky Way behind you and kind of composition of things like really old sky but something really new in the foreground. And then we've got John Whitby, who's kind of looking right into space. We've got Charisse Eberlein, who normally does wedding photography, but she's kind of been really quite clever with how she links kind of people and celebration in the sky, which is really clever. And Pete Monk, who's down in Featherstone, who does some really interesting things with kind
I
of
know
restoration. So yeah, he's got this great one of this really ugly rusty car that's kind of falling apart with just the Milky Way just behind. So you've kind of got that link of, well, the Milky Way's been there for 4.5 billion years, or 13 billion years, but this car's only been around maybe 100, and look what's happened to this car.
That's right.
And
the
so
Milky
it's
Way
really
is
good.
still in good condition.
It is, yeah, it's pretty good condition.
One owner.
Yeah, yes, one careful owner. So I really like how the sky can be kind of interpreted in different ways, kind of with, the age of something here on the Earth compared to the age of, the Milky Way, but also kind of that connection with people and, light and ships. And it's a really interesting exhibition. It's been really fun to curate, actually. It's been really, really fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing it up in real life next year, but
So,
it will be
it's
virtual
physically
this year.
going to be there.
It will be, yes. So there's some great kind of time lapses which don't really work too well on virtual outdoor, but will look fantastic kind of on a big screen in the museum next year. Yeah, so it's going to be really fun.
What's physically there at the moment?
Physically there, we've got the Peter Perrier and Gavin Hipkins exhibition, so the photography. We've also got some printmaking. The Printmakers Guild are there showing their quite eclectic printmaking techniques. We've got all sorts of things there. That's going on until... now, I did write this down. When's that going? That's going, I think... Oh, there you go, 28th of June. They're disappearing, so still plenty of time to go and have a look at that. We've got Jim Campbell. Now, Jim Campbell is an interesting one because normally he would do these beautiful watercolour landscapes, really delicate and just beautiful. You just feel like you're there.
Yeah.
But he's done something a little bit different. He's kind of completely changed and done a bit of a challenge, and he's done almost a Mondrian style, kind of lots of lines and bright colours and in acrylic, which... it feels like they're two completely different artists. It's amazing. And he was saying that he just wanted to try something different. And so he kind of put away all of his, normal watercolour and his beautiful landscapes and then went, well, I want to try shape and I want to try colour and I want to try lines. So it got some really interesting Jim Campbell work up there at the moment, just kind of down the kind of the window corridor. That's in there. But after that, I think... we're just going to have a look and see what we've got. I think we might kind of take a few bits out of the collection, maybe. We've got the Gavin Hipkins and Peter Perrier until mid-June. Hopefully we're talking in with City Gallery if we can have that a bit longer. But so far it's going to be going mid-June because I think it's meant to go into Australia next. So obviously depends if it can get to Australia or not. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Jim Campbell, I think, is going to be there till end of July. So we've got plenty of time to see him. And yeah, I think we've got we've got Rob McLeod booked in for the end of the year. So, his really crazy big kind of exaggerated people doing strange things, he's going to be booked into the end of the year. So I think we might just have a few things from the collection. We might have a few smaller exhibitions until kind of the end of the year, just to see what's going to happen. We don't really know what's going to happen. No one really does, do they? What's going to happen to the end of the year. But it's a good opportunity to kind of get a few things out that people may not have seen for a little while. And kind of a bit more local, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, we've had a great relationship with Aratoi and done a few shows in collaboration.
Oh, awesome!
And really enjoyed that. Want to do some more.
Oh, and maybe I'll put your name in when I go in there later and say, "Hey, local artists, they want to come in."
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, that's the other thing. Is of course, we've always wanted a program about local art, or whether it's driven by Aratoi or King Street art or whatever. And I think it's the reason it hasn't got off the ground is just because you're all busy.
Yes.
But if the onus was shared amongst a group of people, then the idea of a regular arts program
sounds fun, doesn't
will
it?
be wonderful. So the invitation is out there.
Oh, thank you. I shall go and spread the word out of toy later and say, hey, we've got this idea.
Well, we've chatted about it a few times. One thing that I'm quite interested in for the future is because with the technologies we've been developing, one thing is I thought, what if in one of the containers at ConArt we just had a little area you could go to and do a vox pop, say, I've just been into Aratoi, and I've just seen this and I felt this and I thought that, and it would get recorded and uploaded automatically to us. Especially now we've got a relationship with Wairarapa television, so if it was visual as well, it could appear on Wairarapa television and here, fairly quickly.
Well, funnily enough, I'm listening. I don't know if you're a Wittertainment, if you listen to the Wittertainment podcast. No. So in England, well, around the world actually, there's this fantastic film podcast by Simon May and Mark Kermode called. I think it's a film show, and they started doing that, like you say, just exactly that kind of voice of you come out of a cinema and you say exactly what you think it's been like. But of course during lockdown they've been doing it, come out of your sitting room and say what movie you've just seen, and that works really well. So why not? We could do that for art. That'd be fantastic. Kind of come out of an exhibition at Aratoi. Hey, what did you think about that exhibition? I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and people can share anything. Obviously, we need to develop it, but the nature of access radio is we don't foist ideas upon people. We just say, here's a place, here's a facility.
Yeah.
So in the same way, if we did some kind of vox poppy thing, it would be completely up to them. They wouldn't be prompted by a, what did you think?
Yeah, microphone in your face.
No, they just go, if you want, you can go in there and say a few things.
It's got legs, hasn't it? It could do. Yeah, interesting. Although now you have to kind of bleach it every time somebody walked in,
Yeah.
Decontaminate yourself every time you walked into the in and had a look.
Yeah. Was when you were talking about is it Jim Campbell?
Yes, Jim Campbell. Yeah.
And that complete change of perspective or technique. My wife and I were walking around Henley Lake recently, and we were just looking at the lake saying, how would an artist get that colour? That kind of pewterish look that water gets, and you think, what do you mix together?
Yes.
To get
how
that.
do you get that
How
colour?
do you look that? And I thought, wow, that's stunning that they can do that. And then I thought, but some people might just turn that into a series of lines and rectangles and shapes and things, and still make me understand why that was Henley Lake,
Yeah.
And that's the wonderful magical
power of art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am impressed by artists. It's not, whilst I believe this guy when he says that we're all artists, it's a bit of a stretch when you're talking about me.
I think that I heard something similar, that you're all singers. I'm like, well, you've not heard me sing. I think all artists, there might be something in us, but very, very basic for some people, but that's okay. I
was extraordinarily bad. In fact, I went to school back in the day when boys used to get caned for doing things badly.
Yeah.
And the first cane I got in high school was from the art teacher who challenged me about something. This is in my first week at school, what on earth is that supposed to be? And when I told him, he thought I was taking the piss because it didn't look anything. So he hit me over the head with his 3-foot ruler.
Oh my God.
And it broke in half. So he was so furious that I'd broken his ruler, he caned me. And he had Māori carvings along the length of his cave. So I became an exhibition for a while, a black and blue one.
Well, I'm glad they don't do that at schools now.
Early experience of art. That's why I'm not a famous artist,
Yeah.
of course. I've been
course.
traumatised.
Traumatised. Those early experiences are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was all right, really.
I'm glad to hear it.
I just never, I could never draw, and I still can't.
But it's funny how you remember that, isn't it? It's kind of those moments in your life that you can visualise so clearly, and it's
Yeah.
obviously had an effect on you.
Yeah, not that much of an effect.
Well,
I
you
mean,
haven't been a famous artist.
Yeah, that's right. But I was caned many times.
You were a
and
bit of a rebel.
I can't say that any one of them changed my life.
I think that's it, everyone. There's no point for caning. We've heard it here first.
Oh.
There's no point.
Yeah, that's right. It didn't
work.
Didn't make me famous.
Didn't make you change your ways at all.
Like John Lennon said, I'm going to tell you something about my ma and my pa. They didn't love me, so they made me a star.
Well, it is quite scary how many famous people have had very horrible childhoods, isn't it? It's quite terrifying.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Is
that was a very sad
I was going to say, shall we end there? But I'm not sure if we should. So,
I can dig myself in a bit of a hole.
Aratoy, good place. Really enjoying it.
It's open. It's open today till Sunday, 10 till 2.
Great.
And there's the shop is just stock full of our beautiful things. In fact, I've so much enjoyed doing the virtual Aratoy with our collection. They've actually bought the 50/50 book, and it's a beautiful book. So if anyone, there's a few copies left,
Oh,
and I
great.
think you actually get a free coffee voucher for Entice when you buy the next book. So I'm going to go and enjoy that as well this afternoon. But it's a really beautiful book, and it's a lovely reminder of this time of. Strange to say it's a nice reminder, but it's a reminder of what I was doing during lockdown. I was looking at this book, studying it, and actually kind of bringing some of those bits to the front of Aratoy again. So it's a
Great.
nice reminder.
That's a much more positive way to end the program.
Yes, let's just leave it there.
Great to have you here, Becky.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun. All right. Well, that's it from me. That's it from Becky. And we'll talk to you again on RAM next week.